What's going on, Falcons fans? Hey, man, it's Pound for Pound ATL, and we coming back at you. This time, we are going to do another breakdown.
That's right.
Me and JR. And we're going to start off with these quarterbacks, man. What you think? Marcus Mariota and Ridder.
You
What
know
kind of
what?
success you think they can have?
I just tweeted out, like, obviously this is going to come out on Tuesday, but we're recording on Monday. I preface that by saying, so I can use terms like today and stuff like that and not get confused. But I just tweeted out right before we started recording. The Atlanta Falcons put out a hype video for Mariota's like best plays during OTA or whatever. And I was really thinking, it's like, man, if either one of these guys can really hit
Yeah.
and give us, like, from the Mariota perspective, Kirk Cousins-esque play at minimum, and peak Tannehill play at maximum, kind of not maximum, but somewhere in there for Mariota.
Yeah.
And then if we can get like Dak Prescott level play out of Ridder, it would be such a boon.
Yeah.
To
Yeah.
Seamlessly transition into the next quarterback for the next 5 to 10, 15 years or whatever. And that would just be amazing.
Yeah.
But first we got to get there. First we got to see what it's going to look like. And I think that's part of what we're looking at today with Mariota.
Yeah, I'm getting a little bit excited because we've been doing a lot of studying about this stuff and just reading book after book, just trying to figure out where could they possibly go. So it's exciting to get started with Mariota today. The first thing, let's go ahead and talk about the obvious. We know tight ends is Marcus Mariota's best friend.
Right.
I mean, you and I was talking, offline the other night, talking about how 320 targets went to Delaney Walker when they were together in Tennessee. His first few years there as the starter in Tennessee, and that's a lot of targets to, especially a good tight end like a Delaney Walker, who is as big as tall as he is. So this tells you right here, him and Kyle Pitts is going to have a ball out there on the field.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And then like the one game that he was able to get in with the Raiders in his past 2 years, backing up Derek Carr, like he was looking for Darren Waller early and often in that game.
Yes. Yes.
So I think, if any of y'all play fantasy football, then I think, grabbing Kyle Pitts is not going to be a bad mistake for y'all.
Yeah, and he's already going to be a keeper in my league because I'm in a keeper league. So I'm definitely not allowing him to get off my roster.
Right. And, And speaking of fantasy football real quick, there's a new format out there that me and Toby have here at Pound for Pound have partnered with, and that's the all 22, and that's all dash 22. It's a different type of format where for the people who are really nerdy about this stuff, I guess is the only way I can really put it, you can draft an entire roster, like all 53 players, from the O-linemen to the cornerbacks to the safeties. You could put Derwin James next to the Honey Badger if you want on your team. And this is obviously, an ad, because I interviewed Chris Lombardi on one of our shows, which you can go back and watch, and he's one of the co-founders. And after that, he reached out about partnering with us, and there's something me and Toby felt pretty good about, and I won't keep this long. So y'all go check out, it's all-22.com, and you can use code P4P ATL-A22. And that'll get you, I think it's like $20 off if it's something that y'all like and want to give a try. Anyway, back to
yeah, man, getting excited. Hey, look, before we get started, make sure you subscribe to the channel because I told you we're gonna be putting out a lot of breakdowns, even though the Falcons gonna have a dead period because this is the last week of OTAs, mini camp now, and so we're gonna keep it going though, and we're gonna start it off tonight, like I said, with this. And first thing we're gonna do, JR. We're going to go into this play action bang play that the Raiders ran with Marcus Mariota in 2020 against the Chargers.
So first thing I'm going to throw up is the diagram of the bang so that the people can get an idea of what they're going to be looking at. In this diagram, it shows the Z receiver or the slot receiver going into motion. You got the H-back coming out, the other tight end comes across the formation to block, and then you have the front focal point of the bunch, which in the diagram they have labeled as F, coming on I call that like an in breaking route, but that's that's not a dig. Dig.
Yeah. It's a dig in the end.
Yeah, I'm trying to everybody
Same
has a
thing.
different name for this stuff. Anyway, so you got the F coming in on a dig and the X running like a post route. So just to kind of give y'all a visual of what y'all are about to see. So now let's go ahead and play the clip, and Toby, I want you to get into what we're looking at here. So I'm gonna go ahead and play this clip. So we got Mariota obviously is the quarterback, and here we go. Z's in motion, play action pass, and then it's Darren Waller, like what we were talking about earlier.
Mm-hmm. And I'm gonna tell you what I love about that play is because you see Aguilera, the threat of his speed and them fake jet sweeps that they use, and this is gonna be one of just two plays where you're gonna see those fake jet sweeps, and I love that. And we have the personnel that can run it.
Right.
We signed Demir Bird in the offseason. We got Olamide Zaccheaus, and we can definitely run these types of play action passes on that dig route that you saw Waller get hit on. And another thing about these play action bang plays, JR, I'm sure you saw we ran a lot of this last year, especially in certain situations. And I don't think Russell Gage or Ridley was ready for those types of passes going up through the middle, because you already know you're going to be meeting a safety possibly right there at you. So you definitely need some big body guys that can handle those types of hits if they're going to take them out. You remember that clip where Drake London came through the middle of the field and helmet came off, and he just got up and smiled and just laughed it off. And those are the kind of things you can expect sometimes when you running those play action bang plays, and that's definitely something I can see the Falcons continuing to, as a carryover for Marcus Mariota.
And I want to do the play one more time, because like I said, Waller is the beneficiary, and he's coming out of the slot there, and we saw Pitts line up like that plenty of times last year. And you bring up Zaccheaus on that motion. Don't forget about Bastion that we just signed, or Batson.
Rashad.
And so that's a guy who I think can benefit from that as well, and does have that familiarity coming in with with Smith. So that's a concept that I think the Falcons are going to lean heavily on, I would imagine.
Yeah, especially on third downs. From the stuff we studying, these bang concepts are very popular on third down and long situations. And you saw there it was a 2nd down and 7, and they end up converting that into a 1st down. So you definitely could see this in these types of situations. But the next one, man, I want to go to is another popular one on third down. This drive concept. And I think this is something that is in the wheelhouse of Arthur Smith because of these digs and that shallow route that comes underneath.
Right. I really wanted to take a minute to speak on that shallow route, as I have the diagram up now. You see that the F is that shallow route, and that's something that we saw them practicing at OTAs, or more of those shallow routes, those mesh style concepts. And those shallow crossers go hand in hand with all that, and it's something that you can build off of. So,
do you
want me to go ahead and play the go? Okay.
Yeah. Go on ahead and hit it. Yeah.
So here's a play here. Obviously, it's from a shotgun formation, and which I think we're going to operate out of quite a bit. And again, it's Waller coming across that shallow formation.
Yeah.
So in these clips that y'all are seeing, especially these first two with Waller being the beneficiary, I mean, that's Pitts. That's Pitts all day long.
Yeah.
This year, for sure, this passing game is I know we drafted Drake London 8th overall, but this passing game is going to flow through Pitts more so than it did
Yeah.
last year.
Yeah, and the way these drive concepts are built is you got these dig routes with the shallow routes coming underneath it. You had Aguilar who ran the deep dig, but he wasn't open. And Marcus Mariota just in time after a 5-step drop back in the shotgun. I mean, a 5-step drop back out of shotgun. Imagine that. If he doesn't get that ball out of his hand, waiting on that shallow crosser to open up, he's sacked.
Right.
But just in time, he gets the ball out of his hands, hits Waller on that shallow route, and Waller gets some more yards up the field before he gets tackled down. And those are plays you can definitely believe. I feel that the Falcons are going to really, really focus on those drive
Oh yeah,
concepts.
and like in preparation for doing this video tonight, I wanted to go back and watch some more, like 2018 Mariota.
Yeah,
When now granted that wasn't Arthur Smith calling plays, that was Matt LaFleur, but it was the last time he fully started the season, and I watched a handful of games, and like I came away not super impressed, and then obviously he followed up with the 7 games that he played in 2019 before he got benched, and that was Smith calling plays. But I think they were
right.
still trying to kind of feel each other out and feel out what they were wanting to do. But in 2018, like there was a okay, yeah. I mean, oh man, I lost my stat. I had a good stat, and
Oh man, you gotta
hold
get
on,
this
let me
that
see if
back.
I can figure out the problem. What scares me about Mariota is the sacks taken. 42 sacks in 2018, 25 sacks in the 7 games that he played in 2019. So I
Yeah,
got to clear that stuff up. But he throws, a catchable ball at 76% and 84%, 2018, 2019. But the big point I was making is that Dave Ragone and Arthur Smith really need to watch that Chargers game. Like, really need to
yeah,
watch that. They need to put as much, if not more, time into that Chargers game than you did, because
yeah,
that was the best I've ever seen Mariota look in that game.
yeah.
And
That was that Oregon style Mariota
right,
right there. And situationally, the way that John Gruden used him,
mm-hmm,
I mean, 8 first downs, and we're going to talk about these inside zone
right,
reads. 8 first downs on these zone read plays. They was wearing the Chargers out with that. And this first play that we get ready to go to is definitely an inside zone read play with Marcus Mariota. We're gonna go to Marcus Mariota first, part one of
right.
that.
Right now I got the diagram up and showing you like it's the inside zone with all the guys blocking using the outside receiver in a motion, like a jet sweep type motion again. All
Yep.
about that misdirection, which Arthur Smith is a
Yep.
fan of. There's no reason for him not to be like doing these types of deals. So let's go ahead and watch this play now. Remember, this is a zone read, an inside zone with Mariota. They're in the shotgun, which gives him a chance to really scan like he wants to. You send the guy in motion, and then Mariota just takes off and picks up a
Yeah. Yeah.
nice
He's gone.
big chunk of yards.
Man, when you see Darren Waller come across that left side after that fake jet sweep by Aguilar,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you really deceive the defender's eyes, man. They really got to be disciplined with their eyes when they're looking at the Falcons this year because I'm calling it motion sickness. If you thought Arthur Smith ran a lot of motion in Tennessee, oh, he's finna get back to his old self, in my opinion, with the guys he has
I
right
think
now.
so. I mean, you can really tell that last year with the personnel that we had, he wasn't really a lot like Dean P says. He wasn't able to get into 100% of his playbook. Like you really
Yeah,
tell, especially when Ridley went down, that like he was very much handcuffed, especially when they couldn't
yeah,
get that running game going, whether it be because of Mike Davis or what have you. That he was handcuffed in what he was calling last year, and it showed. Especially if you go back and watch any of the Tennessee stuff, that's what I think they're going to be trying a lot to get back to.
yeah, yeah. I really love that play. And the thing about it, JR, is that because they were so successful on those inside zone reads, this last
Mm.
one, now they actually run an inside zone play
Right.
with Josh Jacobs. and get by 12 yards down there in the red zone, right? And this is stuff that you want to see. You would be a fool not to implement this stuff, especially when they did this with Mitchell Trubisky, who also had success in these inside zone reads when David Gone was over there.
Exactly. And, when we do get into part 2 with Ridder, now I've got that play up on screen for the folks who are, checking out the diagram. That inside zone run, when you got the tight end and the, strong side, outside receiver, which in this diagram is labeled F. You think about it, you got, Pitts out there, big body London, big body Edwards, big body Auden Tate. Like, you got those guys out there blocking. If, the play that we're going to show, the halfback keeps it. But if that DN crashes down onto that halfback, like, you got big bodies out there now that can actually seal off and open up a hole for Mariota or Ridder or whoever to run it through. So now let's take a look at the actual play itself that you were referencing. So, I love the motion that they go in. They switch it up. They send somebody out wide. Aguilar goes into motion. And there you go. He's like, you got the two guys outside blocking. And the running back bangs his way for a good 12-yard gain.
Tyler Algier.
Exactly. Tyler Algier.
And I'll tell you another guy, Jordan Howard. And that's who I see Tyler Algier as far as the personnel goes. He's not going to be a fast, speedy guy, but to be able to get those chunks of yards like that with bodies on you and still break tackles and get 12-yard chunks like that, that's what we need to become a physical, tough teams that Arthur Smith and Terry Fontenot wants. And I love the motion there. This is very similar to what he used to do with Ryan Tannehill. You know how Ryan would be on the center at first, and once they get a scan of the defense, they would motion out of that and get into them shotgun plays like you saw with him and Josh Jacobs and just mess a defense up. Everybody's going everywhere.
And that's how I remember when we first hired Arthur Smith, somebody made a comment like, if y'all were annoyed by the two-man routes that, Cutter was running, Arthur Smith isn't much better. And in that aspect, you're right. He was focusing a lot on two-man routes with Corey Davis and A.J. Brown, but it was a lot of the way of how you got there, like how you got to those routes. The amount of motion that you put in play, like somebody is moving on just about every play, which is giving the quarterback the information that he needs pre-snap. And then now you add in the element of being able to, the quarterback to roll out and take off running or running on a designed, zone read to add an added stress to the defense. We're about to be in for, I don't know exactly how talented it's going to be, but we're in for what I feel like is going to be an exciting brand of Falcons football.
And I hope that's exactly, because that's what Arthur Smith said. He believes it's going to be an exciting brand. And if they execute it right, I don't see why they won't be able to. I mean, you got Arthur Smith, David Gone, and Charles London, who Mariota has already given credit for allowing him to play free. And this is what I see he means about playing free. Being able to do some of those Oregon things that he did when he was with Oregon, and what John Gruden creatively and craftily was able to do with him when he came out there and took over Derek Carr. I mean, that game right there, man, I don't know how many times I watched that game, man, but I tell you what, I've watched that game probably about 10 times.
It's a really good sequence. It's a good sequence that could potentially get you excited for what you have now, being number one, like going into the OTAs or training camp as the presumed number one, which is how I'm going to treat him until I'm told differently. It makes you excited for that, to see if, he has that command of the offense, and, if he has that confidence, that presumed, freedom to play like that. Because, a lot of the concerns I had, if you're looking at just like base stats, only 1 year did Mariota break the, 20 touchdown mark in passing, and
Mm-hmm.
which was in 2016 he passed for 26
Yep.
touchdowns with 9 interceptions. After
Mm-hmm.
that, it was 13 touchdowns, 11 touchdowns, 7 touchdowns. You know, so that's kind of concerning. But you have to keep in mind, a lot like Alex Smith, he had a lot of different OCs who were trying to do a lot of different things. He was
Yeah.
never actually able
Yeah.
to get comfortable.
Yeah.
And my only other concern with him running the ball, he seems to have a propensity to fumble quite a bit. In his rookie year, he fumbled 9 times. The year after, 8 times, and 8 times again in 2018. Now,
Mm.
in 2018, he only lost 2 of them, but still, like, you don't need him putting the ball on the deck that much.
No, we can't afford that. But the other thing, like you and I were talking about, you got to take into account. Ryan Tannehill started in the West Coast
Right.
system when he got there with Joe
Mm-hmm.
Philbin. Joe Philbin, who formerly was of the Green Bay Packers, became the head coach of the Miami Dolphins. When they drafted him 2013, he was in a West Coast system. When Mariota got drafted, he was never in a West Coast system.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? He was in an exotic smash mouth backslash Earhart Perkins
Right.
system, right? So his first year in a West Coast system that he doesn't really fully understand, working with Matt LaFleur, it carried over into 2019, and they had to move on quickly. And Ryan just fit in because he already had been in
Right.
that system. But now, I don't have any excuses for Mariota. 5 years now, you've been on a West Coast system and really looked the way you should look with John
Right.
Gruden as a recent.
And that should be like that Chargers game. Like I said, that should be the blueprint. If
Yeah,
Mariota ends up winning the starting job, that Chargers game should be like ground zero. That should be the blueprint of what they try to build on for him, which should fit a
yeah,
lot of what Smith and Ragone want to do. Um, Ragone has experience, as we brought up before. I think a lot of people discount the influence of Charles London and Dave Ragone, but they have that experience with Trubisky and under Nagy out there in Chicago. I know people don't want to necessarily hear that because of how Nagy dealt with Justin Fields his last year, but that's Nagy. That's
yeah. Mm-hmm.
but it's that that similar style that they can pull from the things they did with Trubisky that they might be able to do, with Mariota and with Ridder, depending on who wins the job.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm sure you're gonna attack it sooner or later. But one thing I know, like you said, the bunch sets, and see that was something else they did with Ritter over there. Not Ritter, but Mitchell
Mm-hmm.
Trubisky. They ran a lot of bunch sets over there
And that's
with
and
him.
that's something we've been seeing already in OTAs. Those
Yeah,
bunch sets with that, like, the spot formation, the things that they're able to do out of that bunch, and even doing like in my early, I'm not gonna get into it necessarily today, but in my early like research on Ritter, like that's something that he should be comfortable with as well. So they're really
yeah,
building a system that is going to fit both of these guys. I
yeah,
think almost seamlessly, which is the design. But what I saw out there at OTAs on Friday, that motioning, Kyle Pitts from one side of the formation to the other to then get into a bunch with uh, Drake London, Kyle Pitts, and I believe at the head of that bunch was Geronimo Allison. But you imagine either Allison or even Brian Edwards right there.
yeah,
That's a big bunch. And that's a
yeah,
big. Now you imagine those three guys blow out to block, and you have a outside run coming behind them. With
yeah.
Algier,
Mm-hmm.
like this
Mm-hmm.
is like I said, this is going to be an interesting. If nothing else, it's going to be interesting to watch just for like scheme type stuff.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But yeah, I mean, other than that, I don't even have anything else. But boy, I tell you what, just that game, that's what has me excited. If we can get that Mariota, we might
I
have
think so
something.
too. And like I said, man, you add in like his rushing ability. Mariota's being able to pick it up on the ground. Only 1 year, and it was 2019, obviously, because he went out. But he's only 1 year has he not had a rushing touchdown. So that's going to be something that they're going to have to continue. Defenses are going to have to account for. And like I said, I think it's going to make for an exciting brand of football. But yeah, I think that's all we got for y'all tonight. Part 2 is going to be coming later, either this week or the first part of next. And that's when we're going to get into the things that should make Ridder successful. These type plays, the bang plays and drive concepts and the inside zone reads are things that they should be leaning on to help Mariota be successful. And we're going to show you some things that the team should be leaning on to help make Ridder successful if and when he does get the lead at the quarterback position. But that's all we got for you today. Y'all, as always, y'all can follow us on Twitter. I'm at Grim1128, GRIMM1128. Toby?
Toby D1991.
If, like Toby said earlier, the like, share, subscribe, all that good fun stuff. Get in on that Patreon action. You'll get to see some before-the-scenes type videos and any kind of early access type stuff. So, make sure if y'all want access to that, sign up for that. Merch is in the bio down underneath. I think that's all the housekeeping that I have to do. And as always, Falcons fans, rise up.
Rise up.